The next one is to make a bed, and that bed is going to use the alignment parameter and then visibility. So what's important when you have more than one parameter is that you do visibility last. So here's my bed block, and I've just drawn this as a simple rectangle. I've got a little line here that maybe indicates where the sheet comes up to or something. You know, I've seen some really elaborate bed blocks where the people draw the pillows and they draw little lines that look like wrinkles, and they draw rounded filleted corners, you know, to make it look like it's real fabric. You can go nuts if you want, but at minimum draw something very basic like this. And so you can see here I have different visibility states. So it appears to change from a twin size or king size bed to the other sizes. But on this block, you can also see that there is a little square pointy house-shaped icon up there. And that's the alignment parameter. So I'll show you the way that works. Let's say I have a diagonal line or a wall that's at a particular angle in my building. And I want to take my bed and I want to position it in the room that has an odd angle. So I can select the block, and then I can click here on the alignment parameter, and that kind of is working like a move command almost, kind of. But you can see that when I bring it near a line that's at a weird angle, it's going to adopt that angle. So if I approach this line coming this way, it's going to rotate itself automatically to be parallel to that line. Or if I were to approach it by coming around from this side, it's going to reverse and go the other direction. And, you know, even if you don't have a room that has weird angles, it's still really useful for approaching just a 90-degree rotation. And so you can just drag it over to the side of the room and it'll automatically rotate. Okay, so up here I have drawn out all my individual lines. And so those are one for each size, right? A twin size, full size bed, queen size bed, king size bed, and then California king. And so those will match up with what you see here in your book, all the different sizes. And these names are going to become our visibility states. So we're going to do the alignment parameter first, and then after that we'll do visibility. And these names will become the names of each visibility state. Okay, so I go B for block, and then I've already created a block that's called bed, so I'll just use the name XX again for this example. I'm going to do my pick point here on the top center of the bed, and then I'm going to select objects and pick all these lines, press enter, and then click OK. So I've created a regular block. I'm going to select it, type BE to go into the block editor. And you can see there's all of my different bed sizes. And so here's my alignment parameter. I'm going to take this, click, hold down my mouse and move my mouse over this way. When I release my mouse, it turns to a crosshair, and I'm going to pick right there at the midpoint of the top line. And the way the alignment parameter works is after you make that first click, it wants you to make another click to define an axis. So my next click is going to be on this corner snap point or end point over here. And so I'm going to move this off to the side just so you can see what it looks like, right? It's got that kind of a square pointed house shape thing, and then it's got this blue dotted line. So in reality, it doesn't make any difference if the blue dotted line is really long or if it's really short. That blue dotted line is only defining an axis. So if you moved yours, make sure you undo that and put it back here where it belongs. And then that's it for the alignment parameter. That's pretty simple. Then I'm going to take my visibility parameter, click and hold my mouse down and release it maybe right there, something like that. And then I'm going to come up here and click visibility states, and I'm going to rename the first one to twin, and then I will create all the new other ones. So full, Queen, King, and California King. And I think you know how to do this part already. When we are in the twin visibility setting, I'm going to select all this stuff and say make invisible. So they'll get grayed out. When I am in the full setting, I'm going to select this stuff over here, make sure that grays out. So make sure that when you are making this invisible, you do not make the alignment parameter invisible. Probably the easiest way to do that is to select the alignment parameter itself and then click on one of these endpoints of the axis, turn your ortho on, and drag that axis so that it's shorter. That way you'll be able to select this line and say make invisible, and you can do that without selecting the actual alignment parameter. Okay, so that's full. Now I'm going to go to Queen. I'm going to select this and this and this and that line right there, and I'm going to make invisible. Now I'm going to go to King, select this and this rectangle and that line, and make invisible. Now I'm going to go to California King, and I'm going to select all of that stuff, this, and make invisible. Now I'm going to close my block editor, save my changes, and I'm going to test this out a little bit. So I'm going to draw a line over here at a weird angle. I'm going to select my block, and I'm going to test out my different visibility states, make sure the showing and hiding is working correctly. So test out each one of those, and then test out your alignment parameter to make sure it's working properly. You can click on this symbol, bring your block over towards that crooked line that you drew, try it from this side, try it from this side, make sure it's working properly, and then you can click to release it. And if you want, you can even do the visibility after you've rotated it. Okay, I'm going to type undo a couple of times, and I'll erase this line. Then I'm going to come up here, select my block again, and type BE for block editor, press OK. And now with the invisible lines showing up as gray, I'm going to use my M for move and move the midpoint of there to the midpoint of there. And I'm going to repeat and do that for each one. And that's going to bring all of these into alignment or registration point with each other. Like so. And when you're done, it should look something like that. Then I'm going to click on close and save, and then test it a little bit more. And seems to be working perfectly. Okay, the next one to work on is the parking space. So there's going to be a variety of sizes, and these will be the names of the states on the left here, and also the actual width of the item and the length of it. They're all 18 feet except for the compact space, which is 15 feet. So they look like this when you draw them out. You can just draw three simple lines. I drew mine as a P line, that way it's easier to keep them together and they select all at once. And the parking is going to have a rotate parameter that's set to a 15-degree increment. And so you want to do that parameter first, and after that, then create the visibility. So once you've got all your parking spaces drawn out, they should look something like this. I'm going to do B for block, and then pick my insertion point here at the midpoint of that top line. Select all these objects, and I'm going to give it the name of XX because I already have one here that is a parking stall. and then select it and go into the block editor. And I'm going to take my rotation parameter, click and hold it down, bring it over here. When I release my mouse, it turns to a crosshairs. And so I will click here at the midpoint of that top line. And then I'm going to click over here to the right. And then it's asking me down at the bottom the question, what my base angle is. And it's already set to 0. So I'm going to press enter to accept that. And then when I select this round circle and open up my properties box, you can see a value here that says angle type. And I'm going to switch that to increment. And then the angle increment, I'm going to set that to 15. So that will be 15 degrees. And once I do that, you can see I get some of these little line tick marks going around the circle here. And then I'm going to need to tell it what is going to rotate. So I can double click on the yellow exclamation point here. And then I'll be able to do a big window around everything and press enter. And once I've completed that, the yellow exclamation point goes away. So I now press the green check mark, save the changes, and you can see when I'm back in my drawing, I now have this little round circle over here, and I can use that when my ortho is off. I can rotate this thing around in 15-degree increments, which can be really useful for like 30-degree angled parking, for example. And then after that step, you'll need to go back into the block editor, create the visibility states, set all the make invisible, make visible settings, and then take all the parking spaces and put them on top of each other, all piled up, so that your final block should work and look like this, where you can switch different sizes, and also do the rotating part at 15-degree increments. And the next one to do is the sofa. And so this one is a little bit different idea of a way to use a dynamic block. We're actually going to draw a top, front, and side view within the block and then use visibility to show or hide each of those different views. So the 3 states you'll be creating will be top, front, and side. And here's some dimensions describing the size of the sofa. And you can create a very simple drawing that shows the top of the sofa, maybe something like that. The front of the sofa, maybe something like that, and the side of the sofa, something like that. And if you want to draw it pretty simply like I did, that's fine. If you want to draw more of like a puffy couch with rounded edges and cushions and all that kind of stuff, you can totally do that. But the final block should work this way, where it has a visibility parameter allowing you to change from a top view to a side view to a front view.